Good afternoon, everyone. This is Darren from Model Railroad Techniques, and I welcome aboard Gordy Robison from Orkney, Scotland. This is my first time interviewing someone in definitely your part of the world and definitely Europe. So thank you very much for coming along this evening and taking time away from your family. So thanks again, Gordy.
Well, you're very welcome.
So obviously, Gordy, you can be found on your website, www.gordy.com.uk, I should say, where he's got his blogs and his Facebook, and also you can be found, obviously, Facebook, Gordy Robison. So links, I'll put everything below. So we'll lead into the National Model Railroad Association stuff. So what position do you hold within that organisation?
Official, not a very high one, although people would believe that that's not the case. No, actually, within the NMRA, I'm the manager of our virtual model railroad conventions program, which is called NMRA X, which I started and naturally became the manager of because I started it. That's been running since kind of April. But really, in terms of roles, that isn't a direct reporting to the National Board of Directors. That reports into the meetings and events team or department. So it's not a very high role. In the British region, I'm the British region's marketing, media, and events coordinator. So I do all of their promotion side on social media, and if a division doesn't step forward to do any of the regional convention, for example, then Gordy's into the breach and sorts it out. And then I've been volunteering with the NMRA social media team, probably not with any kind of official title. I'm not one that really pins things on job descriptions and titles. I think if someone's wanting to do something, you should find the right person and encourage them to get it done. But I've done that, and it's been great. We've grown that team from very small beginnings. It was just myself, Christina, the marketing consultant, and Ken, the Facebook manager, back in 2017. Now there's a team of nearly 10.
Wow.
You've seen the national, I started a thing where I wanted to try and put original content on. When I joined the team, all we were doing was resharing other people's posts. And I was like, no, we really need to be doing other content on them. And for the last 3 years, up until 2020, from 2015 to 2019, I was working for a global company with a lot of business in the US. So I was traveling for business a lot. So I was able to attend a lot of events in the US, take lots of photographs, share it, arrange content and stuff. But basically, the story there is that we've grown the Facebook group for the National Model Railroad Association from just under 10,000 in 2017 to 22,200 this plus now, which is huge. It's a huge increase in 3 years. And we've also just recently with NMRAx grown the YouTube subscribers from about 100 back in January to over 2,000, and I think it's 2,500 nearly. So it's been good, but that's my role. I think I'm recently I was put under quite a lot of not arm twisting, but people suggested that I nominate myself to go forward and be on the ballot for the NMRA elections 2020 as the NMRA's president. I think it's quite humbling to be asked by people to put your name forward. So we started a petition for that. Because I don't really want to go through the nominating committee. I wanted to test the water and decide, and make sure that this is actually what people wanted. Because why would you go straight for the top job, and despite me having a lot of experience and particularly in leadership, building high-performing teams, doing organizational transformation, digital transformation, it's my bag. It's what I do on a day-to-day basis. I used to manage, when I was 21, I was made a senior manager of a hospital after 4 years in the military. So, I've got some skills there somewhere. But we put it up for a week, and over 120 NMRA members signed their names to the petition from every single region of the NMRA worldwide, which is great. And so I'm really passionate about the organization. I said in my introduction there about a friend of my father's getting me into American modeling. Really, as a kid, I used to go to model railway clubs with my dad, and I was instructed to be quiet, not seen and not heard, and in the corner, and even as a teenager. But I went to I went to my first, and I didn't realise what the NMRA was when I went there, but I went to my first NMRA meeting, which was with the Calder Northern Division of the British region, which is kind of northwest England.
Right.
Manchester, Liverpool, if people are wanting to place where that is. And
Yeah.
I went there, and it was in a little community hall. Everybody was everybody was old, usually white males, which is unfortunately a typical demographic of the NMRA. We need to kind of broaden that a bit. But, no, but everybody was welcoming, and everyone encouraged me. I learned what the difference was between an old horn hook coupling and a Cady coupling.
Yeah.
I remember we used to go every month. No one ever mentioned to me what the NMRA was. Nobody ever said to me, "You need to join or you can't come back."
Right.
None of that. And I'm a bit disappointed about that because I probably would have took out a life membership and been one of the lighters. But no, and I took, and I used to go every week or every month back. Every time I'd get sent with a $5, like a £5 note, which is worth about $10 back then, and I would go and buy a blue Affen blue box freight car. I'd take it home. I'd assemble it that night. I'd have it running. I didn't know anything about weathering, and my father would kill me if I put any weathering on a model. But I'd assemble it. I'd get it all working. I had my couple of height gauge and my one length of HO flex track he would let me have because it was an O-scale house. But it was great, and I think that the organisation and the power of what the NMRA does as an organisation and could do is huge and it's great for our hobby. I mean, I think the NMRA is needed now as much as it ever has been. As there's so many new technologies emerging, it's kind of the same as it was back in the 1930s, where you had huge amounts of technology emerging, little to no interoperability. And if you look at the digital technologies that are emerging, we just spoke about there with model railroad remote operations, there's a risk there. There's a need for an organization to kind of say, well, hang on a minute, let's be representative of the consumer group and say, let's make sure this kind of stuff all plays nicely. And so, and not just without, and what the NMRA does at grassroots is huge, but I see us as an organization of 17,000 people worldwide. It's very small. Considering that model railroading or model railways in the UK is the second most popular male non-sporting hobby after fishing.
Right, okay.
People consider fishing a sport, but I don't. But it's the second most popular hobby. The problem is that I think the NMRA has not lost touch with its membership. That's clear. It's got a core committed group of people that renew every year. But I think we need to do more to appeal to the broad church of model railroaders. We need to broaden that appeal. The organisation should be in the six figures in terms of the number of worldwide members. We should have 100,000 members, not 17,000 members. And I really want to see the organisation be set up for success and see it grow at grassroots. And I think that the national organisation needs to support members at the very bottom level. I don't think it's a case of sitting back and supporting regions, although that's what they already do and they do it very well. But I think it's kind of I'd like to see the organisation just re-engage with model railroaders, not just members, but model railroaders. And I've been involved, with trying to do that through the partnership program. I've gone around with Christina at Springfield. The Springfield Train Show, the National Train Show. I've done introductions to her to manufacturers. It kind of helps that that's what I did as a kid with my dad, so I know how to talk the lingo to a manufacturer and can understand where they're coming from. And that's now grown to 45 partners who all offer. Oh, there's more than 45 partners now that offer discounts to members of the NMRA. And now it's people used to say, oh, it is expensive to be a member. It is. I'm not gonna. It's $50 in the US now to become a member of the NMRA. It's very expensive. But you can earn that back from one order because you can get 15% off at Micromark. Go to Micromark and get that back straight away. So
it's quite interesting.
It's off down the line there. I'm very passionate about it.
No, I can tell, and I love your passion, and I can feed off that. It's the sort of thing I've spoken to a few members now. You'll be the second that I've spoken to. Another one was Jim Kello, who's one of the master model railroaders, and he's just a fascinating man. He obviously pushes it as well, and he's doing his little bit. But I think you're exactly right, and I think with what you've done with the NMRA X side of things is phenomenal. So you got to be congratulate you and your team for getting that up and running, because 24 hours of non-stop trains, the logistics to actually get everyone on board, to moderate that, and to get enough people to give, running layouts and clinics and all that is mind-blowing. And I'll touch on that in a sec. But I think you touched on another interesting thing that I think the NMRA gets some bad press about, would be, older white males, that we need to get the young people like you and me into this hobby. And I think one way of doing that is doing like what we're doing, particularly what you're doing, and bringing the technology to them, because that's where the kids are, aren't they? They love their iPads. They're in front of the computer. So we need to try to make it, I suppose, relevant and fun, where we can bring something that's very tactile in regards to making physical models and running physical models, or whatever your poison is in model railroading, and then be able to use computers and technology to either run them or run them on the other side of the world and have fun with some virtual mates, so to speak. So I think that's definitely the way it needs to go, and needs to be embraced by these organisations to get the younger folk in.
Absolutely. I think the NMRA, and I did a while ago now, I did an AML podcast where I sat on the sidelines, and I managed to facilitate Gerry Leone and Christina, not Gerry Leone, sorry, Gerry Leone helped me facilitate getting Christina Zambri and Charlie Getz, MMR, the time the NMRA president. So this would have been 2017, early 2018, because Pete Magoun is now the president of the NMRA. And Charlie came on there and said that the NMRA is looking at the demographic of 65 plus. And the reason that he said that is because they're looking for people who have time in their eyes to be modelers, and that to then become their full-time thing. And that's fine. But I think that it's not kids. It's, let's just say, younger members, okay, under 40. There is a significant growth in this hobby. This hobby is exploding right now, and it's been exploding for the last 5 years. There are a significant number of people. The stigma around being a nerd has gone. I think TV programs like The Big Bang Theory and other things like that. In the UK, there's now a primetime TV show called Great Model Railway Show or something like that. It's kind of a spin-off of the Great British Bake Off. Kathy Millett, MMR, good friend of mine in the British region. I was very grateful to, as soon as I saw the opportunity, I nailed then President David McLaughlin and persuaded him to speak to the production team, who then suggested to them that they get Kathy Millett on. And that's great. And what it shows is that there is a huge number of model railroaders out there, and it's growing all the time. But what we need to do as an organisation is digital's not the silver bullet. No. Right. What we need to do is we need to turn around and stop the conversation around we're only targeting a certain demographic. That needs to stop right now. Sure. And what we need to turn around and do is understand and know our audience and know our customers, and how can we broaden our appeal. And so you need to think about what it was like if you're over 40. Or you're still in work, let's say you're not retired, you need to sit there and think about what was it like when you were working. And probably most people that retire turn around and say, I have less time now than I did when I was working. Because if you want something done, ask a busy person, right? So we need to sit down and look at this seriously and say, we need to do something that's not the traditional way of doing it, so that allows people who have families like myself to have that time. Hey, I'm 33. I currently work 2 jobs. And I organise an internet. I've done in the last 4 or 5 months 210 hours of online virtual conventions. I built a layout. I've got 2 decks of my layout going there. I've completed an AP certificate for my 4th AP certificate for my Master Model Railroader as I work towards being a Master Model Railroader. I do a lot, and I've got a 20-month-old daughter who I spend a lot of time with. I do sleep. Many people believe I don't.
I was going to say, we need to fit that in. So.
But the thing is that the traditional model of model railway clubs and the NMRA is to have fixed meetings at fixed times. And when I look in Scotland at the model railway clubs that are successful, they've become successful because they've changed that model, and they've said we are available on demand. So the world is become an on-demand world, which means that there's kind of strict rigidity of you go to work 9 to 5, Monday to Friday. You know this yourself from your job that you do. has gone, and so we need to become an organisation that's available on demand. The model railway clubs that are successful have
Sure.
their club rooms, and once you become a member, and you obviously need to be trusted.
Yeah.
People are given a key, and that trust exists with
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
younger with members who are still of working age, and so rather than saying right, the second Tuesday of every month is when we're having our meeting and it's rigidly fixed, they're doing things outside of that time,
Yeah. Yeah.
making themselves available so that it can appeal to the people that always work. And equally, the groups that only ever do things on a Saturday, well, what a lot of younger people do is work weekends.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that doesn't work for those people. So what they're doing is they're trying to be this on-demand service, and it's doable. It's different. It's difficult.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's very, very doable. And if we can find the channels and the means to connect more people so that they feel a belonging, that's what's really important about retention of members and growth of an organisation, is that people feel belonging, because the traditional member organisation's gone. That's dead. People have to say, I want to show that I'm a part of this. I want to be a part of this because I benefit from it. And so that's the challenge that faces organisations like the NMRA around the world.
Sure. So obviously the NMRAx probably feeds into that a little bit of virtual division is what you're talking about. So I suppose moving forward, what do you see how at some stage NMRAx is, for want of a better phrase, is not going to be relevant. However, obviously we're in very unique times where people are stuck in their houses more. But as you say, on demand membership to various groups and clinics and everything else, I think is the way, as you rightfully point out. So how do you sort of see from what we're doing now with the NMRAx, or what you're doing, I should say, not we, not I, but
what the team are doing.
The team are doing. What are the NMRAx team doing, or meetings they're having in the background for when this virus rubbish sort of starts sorting itself out in the next 12 or 18 months, 2 years or whatever. Maybe longer in the US, unfortunately. Where do we move forward with making these virtual divisions? Because I think that's pretty well what you're talking about, isn't it? I think so.
Yeah, so it's kind of so I use the virtual division term simply because it's a term that people are familiar with, and when you're taking people on a journey, it's important to keep things relevant and familiar. I think what people maybe haven't yet realised and haven't yet seen is that there were people isolated in their own homes for various reasons, and there were people isolated from their model railway club or the NMRA before COVID. It's not a COVID situation. No. It's a problem that's been there to be solved for probably more than 10 years. I think the NMRA X has always been a project, not a particular thing, and that's important. It gives us the opportunity to rapidly prototype something. If it works, do the lessons learned, build on that. If it fails, kill it. And we have killed some things. So there's two channels to it. One I think you're probably more familiar with is the virtual conventions or virtual content. But let's park that for a second, because there are things happening there. The other side of it is more what happens at a local level. So I've been working with, and I've been working with and supporting. I haven't been involved directly with delivering this, so I'm not taking credit for anyone else's work here. This is the work that I'm going to talk about has been done at regional and divisional level. Apart from the British region, when I did do the work for this. But what we've seen virtual meetings start to take place. And either that's a recording of a meeting and then it's shared later, or whether that's a virtual meeting for all regions and divisions and stuff. And they've been hugely successful. Texas used the Lone Star region, which is Texas of the United States. They got a Zoom account. Then they had to upgrade it. Then they had to upgrade it again. I think it's now in one of these accounts that has 500 people on it.
Wow.
They've connected with model railroaders in their own divisions and in other divisions of the Lone Star region that they haven't seen for years. So in some cases, decades. And so I think it's really important that we find a way that can be sustainable when life returns to normal. I think everyone has an urge to return to face-to-face meetings, that everyone that's able to. But there's always that we need to now maintain some kind of virtual presence. And I think the next challenge in the next 6 months for this is how can those organizations make that sustainable if they are able to return to face-to-face meetings. And I think they're looking at that. So I know that the Lone Star region's invested in technology to enable them to record meetings and share it afterwards. I know that the Piedmont division in Atlanta, they're very tech-savvy kind of guys because it's a metropolitan area, but there's equally people there that are out in the sticks in Georgia that are part of that division.
Sure.
And I know they're going to carry on taking the WebEx meeting. They use WebEx, not Zoom. They're going to take that into their meeting place, and they're going to allow people to join remotely. So they'll have the hybrid approach. And I think that's the future. I think hybrid is the future. But they're also going to do live stream events. So they go and do a lot of open houses. So Walt Lyles, the division superintendent for the Piedmont division, is a very good friend of mine, a great guy, a very, very, very gentle and loving guy of the hobby and the people that are in it. And he has already started going to people's houses, as he's permitted to, by the rules there. You know, he's working within the rules of the state of Georgia. But he's doing recordings of those layouts for people and sharing them on their Facebook channel afterwards. And that enables, that's on demand, and it suits the people that are unable to attend. So I think that's what's got to start happening here in the British region. I know in Australia you do stuff already. You were already there, and I've even at lunchtimes, my time, taken my lunch hour to coincide with certain meetings of groups in Queensland and different parts of Australia, so that I can talk to those people and hear what they're saying and kind of get an understanding of what's going on in the world. But in the British region, we've set up something called the Brew and Natter, which I mentioned earlier, which is every other Saturday, and twice a month, so I think it's the first and third Saturdays of the month. We're just getting together. Whoever wants to attend from within the British region, there's nearly 600 members of the British region, is coming and attending and chatting about what they're doing and meeting with people. We've got people there who are just recovering from operations, who can't go to their model railway club because in England you can start meeting again, but they're recovering from various operations and other disabilities, so they can't attend, and they're still attending the matter, and they're feeling connected to their hobby and their friends and stuff. And we'll continue that. So I think it's got to continue. The model may change, but it's got to continue in some way. In terms of virtual model railroad conventions, NMRA X, we always set out that this was going to be 4 times a year, as in terms of something that's over more than just a couple of hours. We're going to try to keep doing something once a month. Whether that be, we've got a few things that are working right now. Having people in a room and allowing experts in the hobby, whether master model railroaders or something else, to come on and talk and answer questions live from an audience is very popular. So we're going to continue that. But we're looking now, there's kind of 2 needs that people have for doing a clinic. Some people want to do a clinic to provide certificates for their AP, so the achievement program of the NMRA, whether that's volunteer or author, and so we need to make that sustainable, because they're like Neil, for example, in Hawaii, can't go to his division meet because the division of Hawaii is on all the islands, and there's one of a side of his island who's a member but not active. So it's giving everyone, and myself, I don't need it, but I've got my certificates, but still giving other people in my kind of circumstance that are remote the opportunity to still earn those awards. So I think that's important. But what we were looking at now is moving to more of a video magazine style, kind of 15-minute segments, and we can always keep coming back and dipping into the article in different parts over the course of events. So that's what we're kind of just maybe going to experiment with in a few months' time. I think we're going to also try to do NMRA X regionally. We'll time for Australia soon. I'm working with the boys in Australia to whether we can set that up. So that's how I think you see it. So you'll definitely be seeing from us, just give you some rundown of some dates. On August 22nd, I'm really pleased to announce this today. I put this out live just before coming on to record this. We'll be doing the first ever. We do have a general meeting once a year at the NMRA, which this year will be broadcast on. So I think it's a Zoom meeting, and members have had information about how to join that, or it's a go-to meeting. But what we'll be doing is we'll be hosting a live video roundtable with 6 members of the National NMRA Board of Directors or leadership team. and all there's it's a laundry list of the greats in the hobby there. You can ask them any question that you want. It's open to members and non-members, which I think is really important. All the things I said about growth and appealing to more people. So that's happening on August 22nd, which is going to be between 3 p.m. and 5 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time for US hours. So we did that kind of, if you're in Eastern Australia or New Zealand, well, not New Zealand, they don't have to get up quite so early, but if you're in Australia, yeah, it's an early morning job for you. If you're in it's kind of in the evening, and if you're in America, obviously it's in your afternoon wherever you are in the states, across whether you're in Atlantic Canada or you're in Pacific time. So that's live on August 22nd. We're looking at doing something possibly with, like I said, with the Australian thing, early September, date to be confirmed. But the 26th of September, which is I believe a Saturday, we're going to do another 12 hours of clinics. And then through the fall, we're looking at possibly may lose. So far, the British Region Convention's going ahead as a face-to-face convention, which is great. But we may lose that because the prevalence of COVID is increasing in England. So we may lose that event between now and then. So we're keeping October open in case the British region needs our support. But in November, we're working with the guys from Trainfest in Milwaukee to help them put on some clinics. It's still the format is still to be, and date is still to be confirmed, but that will happen in November, I'm sure. And then in December, we're also just in discussions with another region in the US to put on a similar thing to what we did with the Southeastern region in July, which would be another regional convention, but it would be tailored towards having clinicians from that region providing and talking about that region's railroads and what model railroading is going on in that region, which I think is great. Gives a nice little flair to it. Probably not to be repeated because I'm sure they'll be back to the face-to-face convention next year. And then I can also tell you that Father Christmas has agreed to come and join us.
Oh, lovely.
On the 27th or the 28th of December. Still to be confirmed. Apparently there's something about the large consumption of whiskey and cookies that takes place around the 25th of December, 24th, 25th of December.
He needs to sober up, yes.
He's concerned around. Yeah, he wants to make sure that he is sober. But he will be joining us live from the North Pole.
Lovely.
On the 28th or the 27th or 28th of December, and then we'll take next year as it comes. And I think that's what we'll do. So you'll be looking at kind of a spring, summer, fall, winter event, and that's what we'll do to keep that up. But with monthly events that will change on a monthly basis. And if you want to know more about when NMRA X events are happening, they're all on the NMRA website, which is nmra.org. They're also shared on Facebook. If you're a Facebook member, you can see them. You go to facebook.com/nmra.org, and you go to the events section of the NMRA's page, which is open to the public. So even if you've not got a Facebook account, you can go and see it. And all the events are there. And I'd just like to have a quick thank you to the NMRA X team, if you'll permit me. So that's Martin Jenkins and Brad Anderson in Australia, who help with all the production side of things, and Speed Muller in Texas, and Jordan Kramer up in Ohio. Those 5 guys have put in a lot of hours to do this editing and stuff like that, and they don't get the credit sometimes that they deserve, but they're really pulled together. And also we now have a ever-growing team of over 150 clinicians and guest hosts. So you'll start to see different faces appear, just to show how global this team is. And I think it's become a very high-performing organizational team. So I'm really pleased that they're there and supporting it. The only other kind of final thing to just wrap this up for NMRA X is that we're working at the moment with the National Board of Directors to move the recordings behind the NMRA website. So in the future, it won't happen just now, but in the future, if you want to view on demand the recordings of various clinics, you'll need to be an NMRA member. You'll need to sign up, and you'll need to go to the NMRA website. So they won't all be available on YouTube as they are today. But if you've never interacted with NMRA X, go to the NMRA's YouTube channel, and there's well over 200 hours of content there. That some of it is world class. absolutely world class. It's the standard that you would get if you were able to attend the national NMRA convention over in the States. It's absolutely fantastic content. You can learn so much from some of the guys there that have given clinics, model railroading authors that write books for people like Carnback and White River. So definitely go and check them.
Yeah, lovely. Obviously, Marty Jenkins is one chap. Literally today, I had contact with him. He's on my list of people that I wanted to catch up with about his Raspberry Pi that he does, and also his little RC cars. I think is just blowing the socks off. I don't know if you've seen Luke Towan's recent video with one of those cars being used on one of his dioramas, and I think that's just adding another level.
It is. It's not quite the same stuff though.
No.
So Luke Towan's stuff is great, but that's actually a 3D printed car with no suspension.
Right.
What Martin's working on is full four-wheel drive with suspension and differentials in HO scale. So Marty is a great guy. I would say this though. His wife's Raspberry Pi is tastier than his. His is a bit crunchy.
He's a little bit crunchy and gives you a zapper here.
But Martin is the king of the rabbit hole, and so he will. He's a great guy to talk to. He'll get you. It hurts. Your brain will hurt after you've spoken to Martin, but he's.
I'm hoping.
He is a fantastic.
The 5th of September, I've got him on. So obviously then it'll be up a few weeks after that, I would think. But yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to that. I'm just trying to. I think you've got me sold. I've sort of been dancing around the outside of the MRA for quite a while. As I said, I'm not an American modeler, but I don't think that really matters. I think it's the idea is the community that sits in behind this, the mateship, to one of Australianism, that I think moving forward is very, very important to keep this hobby growing and exploding, as you say. I won't coin the phrase that young Lionel will use on AML, but I'll leave that to his podcast because that's a cracker. But I like the idea of on demand, and then obviously you can either watch it live or then you can come back later and watch bits and pieces of it, or pieces that you liked that you didn't like. You can sort of pick and choose what you like as well. So I can see this as the way forward, and it's a great initiative to have this back catalogue of clinics, speeches, the meetings, which would be fascinating just to see how a major organisation like this, how they would operate, and some of the questions, even if I don't get up in the middle of the night to hear the board of directors talk from NMRA, would be still fascinating to go back and actually listening to those individuals talk and how the sorts of questions they may get.
Yeah, I think you just to pick up on one of the points you just made there about becoming a member of the NMRA. There is no prototype. It's not a requirement to model a North American prototype, and this is why I see the NMRA as being. It's about making sure people enjoy their hobby.
Yeah. And
that you can gain the skills. You don't have to be a member of the NMRA to be a great model railroader. You don't. But I've struggled to find somewhere else where globally you could find so many in one place. Yeah, and that's what's so great about the NMRA. You will, the mateship is the biggest thing. The social thing is huge, but just the way that the organisation, through its achievement program and other means of just connecting you with such great people, it strives you to improve your modelling and enjoyment of the hobby and helps you to do that. It's not just a case of saying, hey, look at us, we're the best of the best, come and be like, it's not like go join the paratroops, right?
Yeah.
This is it's like come and join us, take part, enjoy your hobby, and let's help each other to drive things forward. And that's what's so great. So I would definitely encourage you to become a member. I know that the Australian region of the NMRA is one of the best regions that there is out there, and whatever you model, the Aussies don't really care.
No.
As long as that's my experience of working with the Australians. And we've had clinics on NMRA X about Queensland Railways. And everyone always comments about why on earth does Australia use so many different gauges? I don't know, but that's what they do.
Here's a little bit of trivia for you. There's a place in South Australia, North and South Australia, called Peterborough. In the 60s, they had 5 different gauges. That's purely because their governments couldn't get the collective shit together, so to speak, one of a better phrase. And they had all these different gauges, which meant it's quite an interesting sort of part of our history, really. All these different.
That's why the NMRA exists.
Yeah.
Because
so we didn't get that.
If it wasn't for the NMRA,
yeah,
and the people in the past and our ancestors as we were members of the NMRA,
sure.
That's what you would have. 5 different manufacturers producing stuff that should run together, all running on different gauges with different technologies. And that's the best example of one of the main benefits the NMRA brought to the hobby. But it's still as relevant today as it was then. And it's not just about the standards anymore, though. It's a lot more than that.
No, definitely. So we digressed a long way, and we've gone down that rabbit hole, as you would say Marty Jenkins will as well. So
no, it's okay. So I was going to say, I'd love to come back again and maybe talk a bit more about my modelling than the NMRA. Kind of. So most of the time I get rolled out as just a member of the NMRA. NMRA Lionel does it as well, and it's fine because I'm so passionate about it. We always end up falling into that. Sure. But I do a lot of modelling as well. People go check out my blog. I apologise, I've not really been updating that in the last year while I was building this house, but it will have more content on there, and on all that stuff. And of course, I appreciate everyone out there who is supporting me in my bid to be successful in the NMRA 2020 elections. If anybody does want to ask me any questions, give me any feedback on either NMRA X or the NMRA or my modelling, anything at all, then you can contact me through my website, which is gordy.uk.
I'll put all those links definitely below. Maybe I do. Look, Gordy, I need to get you on at another time, because I do have a whole lot of photos here. But as I said, I thought maybe we'll do half an hour of each. But we're talking out half an hour of mainly the NMRA, which is great. I think it's the passion in your voice regarding this organisation is infectious, to be quite honest with you. And you are the guys and girls that are moving forward for the betterment of our hobby need to be congratulated, I think. I think we all need to do our little bit for this hobby. We've all had mentors and the like who have shown us so much, and I think it's the responsibility of every modeler, I think, to hand back something to this. And mine is doing YouTube and getting the word out there and doing this type of thing with gentlemen and ladies from all around the world, which I'm sort of meeting some really awesome people. So yes, as I said, you guys and girls, they need to be commended for what you're doing for our hobby, and I must thank you.
That's fine. Thank you for everything that you do as well.
Thank you.
It's great.
So, Gordy, thanks, as I said, for taking time away from the family this Sunday afternoon. I reckon you had to put the little one down for a little wee nap, as I think you put it beforehand. So, being a father, I know how difficult that can be, and then obviously keeping him asleep. So, I'm surprised I haven't seen a little blonde head in the background there pop up and see what Dad's doing. What computer or who's he talking to now in the middle? Someone the other side of the world. So, Gordy, as I said, thanks, mate. I really do appreciate it. You're my first from this part of the world that's stuck their hand up and said, yep, I don't mind getting on for an hour and talking to a crazy Australian modeller. Make sure you subscribe, click that little bell icon to be notified of upcoming videos. Support us on Patreon, like us on Facebook and Instagram at Model Railroad Technique.